For additional insight on this round of negotiations, we're joined by Saruhan Hatipoglu. He's CGTN's Global Economics Analyst. Saruhan, why are things different now? We heard Owen there saying we've been here before.
They're different because the economy is worse, Roee, for both countries. If you look at the numbers that are coming out, manufacturing, services alike, exports definitely are affected. In China, industrial production has declined considerably. They had their lowest quarterly growth in almost 30 years. In the U.S., if you're looking at it, quarterly slowdown is taking place. Employment creation is slowing down. So something had to be done. And this is one of the reasons that we believed at Barry that there would be a numbers only, or maybe slightly more than numbers only agreement to just provide short-term stop to bleeding that's been taking place in both countries in economic terms. However, there's far more issues, and this meeting also brought to surface far more dividing issues between the two countries than what they claim to have resolved today, and in the long run, that is not good news.
This is a marathon, and these meetings, the 13th meetings, part of that marathon, which is nowhere near a finish line. But what were your expectations for this week's talks, and were you disappointed, or did they exceed what you expected?
I'm actually very happy because we did think that this would be, it would not be signed, but there would be verbal agreement due to the reasons that we talked about. But what is interesting to me that when things were not going really well between the two countries during negotiations, I kept my optimism because the trade-only agreement, possible agreements. Now that things are looking good, at least on the surface, markets are happy, like you mentioned, I'm thinking that actually things are going to get better before they get worse, because the two sides, again, have concrete differences. IP issues was not addressed sufficiently. Forced technology transfers, state subsidies to public corporations have not been touched upon. And also winds of change we're feeling in the United States as well about a perception about China.
And they punted on some of these thornier issues. How will those get resolved?
I don't think they will. And here's what I think will happen. Again, the whole idea was for the economy in the short term to get some kind of a relief, but the issues that are dividing, and that's why I'm saying that I think we're going to see these concrete differences come in the way of a comprehensive trade agreement. But there are also good things. I think what's going to come after this is, for example, foreign ownership issues in the financial industry. China has brought really concrete proposals with that. So in the short term, we're going to be okay, I think. But in the long term, the issues still divide the two countries.
What's China's take from this? It's always maintained that trade disputes can't be resolved through intimidation, that they need to be resolved through cooperation. Surely it's wanted more than simply a delay on a tariff hike. What is it taking away from Washington?
Well, absolutely. But at the same time, again, because the economy in China is also being affected and the global economy overall, they will take this deal. But the issue for China is implementation. And I think as the, I wouldn't even want to call this an agreement, nothing is signed yet. But as the details emerge, we're going to see that the Chinese demands are going to increase on the United States as well regarding tariffs. But again, the long-term issues are what is dividing the two countries, and nothing has changed on that department.
And Trump, of course, campaigning for 2020. How does that factor in here?
Well, I think it did factor in because President Trump likes the markets a little more than the other average presidents that we had in this country. He also wants to keep the economy going. And if every part of the economy is giving signals of or flashing red, with the exception of consumer spending, and if you have proposed some tariffs that would hit the consumers, it is logical that he decided to take a step back and kind of avert that. But yes, that was one of the reasons I think we saw this mini agreement between the two sides. Elections played a role in that one.
All right, Saruhan Hatipoglu, thank you so much for joining us.